What's up guys? So here's an updated Katarina guide on items. First, I'm going to briefly talk about boots. I go Sork shoes almost every game because Magic Pen is just too good on Cat, but when they have a lot of guaranteed CC, like TF or Rise, then I would consider Merc Treads. You won't lose out on too much damage if you go Merc Treads as long as you build Void Staff at the right time. Next, I'm going to be talking about core items. In my opinion, I think Gunblade is the only core item you need. I always build it first because of its strong build path, huge damage spike, and it's active. The build path is really strong because it allows you to build longswords, which boost Katarina's early game damage by a lot. Revolver and Cutlass are also both really useful items on Cat early. Cutlass applies the slow, which helps you make picks and force enemy champs to fight you. Revolver is good for that enhanced auto attack that you can easily proc in your combos. Gunblade's active is super useful as well just because of how much damage it does and the slow it applies. Really easy to make picks with the slow and helps you deal that extra bit of damage to finish enemies off. The healing is also nice plus. It can help you in clutch situations and it allows you to skip out on buying pots. Once you finish Gunblade, you're super strong because of the stats it gives. Katarina has good AP and AD scaling, and it is the only item that gives you both those stats, giving you a super strong power spike. Because of this, you can go about your early mid game just fine with levels in Gunblade. You'll still be doing a lot of damage, regardless of what you build next, so this opens you up for a lot of build paths. That's why I think Gunblade is the only core item you need. If you're having trouble in a matchup and you need defensive stats, feel free to build an early Negatron, or Chain Vest, Seeker's Arm Guard, or Giant's Belt. Just make sure you leave it at that and complete your Gunblade right after. Next, I'm going to be going into the situational items. So, when you find yourself snowballing early game, you want that extra damage to be able to snowball the game. So I would build either Ludens or Deathcap. Ludens is good if you want the cheaper damage alternative, but more utility. It gives you burst, which synergizes well with your Gunblade active, and it gives you more movement speed, which will help you roam and apply more pressure around the map. I'd build Ludens over Deathcap if I'm not necessarily snowballing the game and need that extra push in damage in order to. It gives you the damage and utility in order to help you start rolling. Deathcap, on the other hand, gives you an insane power spike, but it is very pricey. I would build this item when I'm snowballing and I know I'll have the money to get it. The amount of damage it gives makes it a super strong item on Cat, and I like to build it whenever I get the chance to. Just know that when building these snowbally items, you're very squishy, but generally you should be able to one-shot pretty much everyone in the game if you land your combos right. Just be careful for the champions that build MR because they're not as easy to kill. Calculate your damage, pick the right fights, be patient, play smart, and you should be able to clean up any skirmish or fight around mid-game. Next, I'm gonna be talking about the defensive AP items. Rallies is a solid item. It definitely got weaker after the slow nerfs, but it's the only item that gives you health, AP, and slows on all your abilities, so it is still a useful item. I build this when they have decent mixed damage threats and I need that bit of tankiness to survive. I also build it when I need to help my team kite against certain champs like EphRem and Singed. It's also good against a team with lots of immobile champs that you can easily take advantage of with the slow. Abyssal Scepter is the only MR AP item, so I like to build it when they have huge AP threats. If they have 3 APs on their team, then I would most likely build Abyssal just because the MR will pay off super hard. Also, building Abyssal against a bursty AP mid laner is fine too. It'll be harder for champions like Syndra, LeBlanc, Fizz to one-shot you. Generally, if you don't have MR against champs like those, and they focus you, you're gonna be pretty useless. Zanya's is the only armor AP item, but unlike Abyssal Scepter, I wouldn't build it just because they have a lot of AD threats. I would generally build it for the active and against champions like Zed, Yasuo, and Fizz, where the active will be super handy. It doesn't give you as much damage, so just know that you won't be doing as much compared to other items, but generally you should be playing around more around your active by playing aggressive and baiting spells and enemies. Next, I'll be talking about tank items. Katarina has so much damage in her kit that sometimes you don't even need to build more damage items. There are certain team comps you verse where as long as Katarina stays alive, you win the fights regardless. For example, if you verse a team that has to blow a lot of resources on you and you still live, the enemy team will be at a huge disadvantage and it will be easier for you to clean up. Tank Cat is viable mainly because you have resets. No matter how the fight goes, as long as they get low enough for you to clean up and you're alive, you'll win the fight. A Katarina that you can't kill is really scary to deal with. Here are the MR items. We have Banshees and Spirit Visage. I like to build Spirit Visage over Banshees in a lot of cases because it makes you a bit tankier than Banshees and synergizes well with the healing off your Gunblade. But Banshees is still good in some situations, like if Thresh is the main initiator on the enemy team, then it'll basically keep you safe from any engage on you. You want to build these items when they have a lot of AP threats and you want to be almost unkillable against them. The enemy team will normally have to blow more than one rotation of skills on you in order to kill you, so it allows you to play more aggressively. And here are the armor tank items. We have Sunfire Cape and Deadman's Plate. They both give the same amount of armor and health, but the passive is what makes them useful in their own way. I personally think Deadman's Plate is better than Sunfire Cape. Sunfire Cape used to be the better option because old Katarina would be able to stick onto champs, racking up damage with her W and Sunfire damage. But with the new Katarina, she's more bursty and revolves more around throwing your full rotation and backing off. So Deadman's passive would be better here. It gives you a movement speed buff that'll help you roam and a slow that'll help you pick off enemies. The reason why I still mention Sunfire is because it helps against the Yasuo matchup. Building Bomby Cinder early allows you to trade easier because you can easily proc a shield. It's honestly preference, but in my opinion, Deadman's is the better choice. Now, with these tank items, I generally build them second after Gunblade. I think early mid game is the best time to build these tanky items because first of all, the enemy team will only be sitting on around 2 items, so they won't have much damage to kill you. At the same time, Katarina's early mid game is strong regardless of what you build, so you'll be hard to kill and still deal a lot of damage. Especially against teams where they are stacked on either AP or AD, building this item accordingly will make you almost unkillable. Lastly, I want to mention GA. GA is a great item, and having it up increases your teamfight potential by a ton. I like to build it later around mid-late game when I built all my damage items, and winning teamfights are very important. I would still consider building it early when I'm snowballing really hard with the Gunblade and a snowball item, because the snowballing Katarina with GA is super hard to deal with. Now, the last item I want to talk about is Void Staff. And I want to put Void Staff in its own section because of how important this item is. It's crucial to build this item when the enemy has good amount of MR. Without it, you'll be super weak. It's also important to build Void Staff when going tanky items because you rely on your base damage to deal damage. I would build this 3rd or 4th depending on how early they start to build MR, and I would build this almost every game, unless I'm snowballing super hard and they don't have much MR. That about wraps it up, but I do want to mention something before closing out the video. There isn't just one perfect Katarina build that'll work every game. Part of being good at League of Legends is knowing how to adapt. So don't limit yourself to what you build. Try a bunch of different items and see what works best in different situations. Thank you guys for watching. If this video helped you at all, then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel.